Dangerous storms turn deadly.
A lightning strike causes an evacuation.
Aftermath from today's destructive weather maker. First, Venus is tracking the remnants sticking around through tomorrow.
Then we're live in some of the hardest hit neighborhoods.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Tornado warnings with powerful winds and strong rain ripping across Maryland this afternoon.
These are just some of the videos that you sent us today as the deadly storm pushed its way through. The strong winds, snapping trees, the driving rain and lightning leaving damage behind.
We have live team coverage of the aftermath of this afternoon's storms.
That's right. Chief Meteorologist Vitas Reed will tell us what's in store for the rest of the night, and John Rydell will tell us about a senior center evacuated because of the storm.
But first, Keith Daniels joins us live from Finksburg, where one person died in this storm. Keith.
Well, Jennifer, we're live on Bloom Road, and that storm here in Finksburg again turned deadly. The power is out in this neighborhood, very dark behind us. Now, the Carroll County Sheriff's Office says the victim was 89 years old. Investigators say the man was standing in his driveway just before 6:30 tonight when high winds knocked down a tree. That tree trapped him underneath. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, there were other storm-related incidents in Carroll County this evening, not life-threatening, but for one family, it was scary. Wicked weather knocked down a huge tree limb. It fell on a power line. It happened on Sykesville Road. Neighbors say at first they thought lightning had struck the house. The storm did do damage and knocked out power in that area, too.
Everything got bright, and of course I turned my head like that because it was bright. So it was actually kind of shocking. The women were freaking out, screaming. Sorry. I don't know. It was actually pretty wild, really.
We don't have any air conditioners. I don't think they run on power, and I think it's just going to be very warm.
Well, the storm left behind damage at a number of locations in Carroll County. Several downed trees, including along Route 32, just east of Sykesville. That caused a significant impact on traffic in that area. Now, we are back here live where I spoke with the sheriff, Sheriff Jim DeWeese, about 15 minutes ago. He says hopefully they should have an update on this deadly situation that happened here, including the victim's name. We're live now in Finksburg. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Keith. Some scary moments this evening for some residents of a condo complex in Baltimore County. Dozens of people were evacuated from a building in Quarry Lake off Green Spring Avenue. John Rydell is live there with more on what happened. John.
Jennifer, first of all, the good news, no one was hurt in this incident, but obviously some tense moments when firefighters arrive and knock on your door telling you that you have to evacuate. That's what happened here earlier this evening. Someone here called 911 to report an odor of natural gas. Fire crews quickly responded from the Pikesville and Lutherville stations, and when firefighters also smelled the gas, they immediately evacuated that building.
Lightning struck a gas line, and that's what caused an odor in the building. And somebody made a phone call to the fire department, and they came and asked us to leave.
They heard a humming noise, and they were able to track this humming noise coming from a single apartment. And once they got in that apartment, they were able to find in the attic space a broken line.
So once firefighters discovered the source of that gas leak, it was turned off and then repaired. And as a result, the residents were told that they could go back into their building probably about 8:15. The fire department cannot confirm that it was, in fact, a lightning strike, but some folks here believe it certainly was. They heard a loud explosion. We're live in Pikesville. John Rydell, Fox 45 News.
John, thank you. The fierce winds toppled a huge tree along Green Spring Avenue in Baltimore County. Joy LaPola was at the scene a short time after the tree fell.
We're here in Baltimore County along Green Spring Valley Road. Now, if you're familiar with this area, we're just past Stevenson University, and right now the road is blocked off. I want to show you why. Come over here and take a look. This is a tree that has fallen across the street during the storms rolling through earlier this evening. Now, I want to give you an idea of just how huge this tree is. I'm 5'4½", and you can take a look at how tall I am in reference to the roots of this tree and how much has been pulled out of the ground. And you can see this tree is enormous. It is stretching across the entire span of Green Spring Valley Road here in Baltimore County. Now, for a lot of drivers, this evening's commute was a bit dicey, and that's because of things like this that have happened across the area as a result of the stormy weather that hit a few hours ago. At this point, again, the Baltimore County Police have this stretch of roadway blocked off, but a lot of cars are still coming down here and they're needing to turn around, and that can get a little hairy, especially since this is just a 2-lane street. Again, we're in Baltimore County here along Green Spring Valley Road, just off Falls, past Stevenson University, where a tree has fallen as a result of this evening's storms that rolled through earlier. In Baltimore County, Joy LaPola, Fox 45 News.
And this is a live look right now at the BGE power outage map. You can see about 8,000 people are without power tonight. Joining us by phone tonight, Richard Yost with BGE. Richard, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're saying about 8,000 outages. How is the effort to restore power going right now?
We've been making good progress to this point. We saw about 27,000 outages on the system. So as you can tell, we've restored more than 19,000 already. Our crews have been on the scene from the start, working as hard as they can to quickly bring people back into power as safely as possible.
Yeah, and Richard, again, this might be a good time to remind people about the necessity and the importance of having an emergency kit prepared in case severe weather strikes.
Absolutely. Just like we work to prepare for any storm situation, we encourage our customers to do the same if they are out of power, but also just to be safe. You know, if you see down wires and you need to stay away from those, give us a call so we could come out and check it out as well.
All right, Richard Yost with BGE, thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you.
Well, more incredible storm damage out of Harford County. Take a look at this. Incredibly powerful winds snapped these telephone poles. The scene just north of Jarrettsville.
Yeah, I've never seen damage to the telephone poles all straight in a row like this. You've seen 1 or 2 broken off, but not 12 in a row, continuously in a row.
Well, he says the corn survived, and he says those open fields make that area very windy. Well, Chief Meteorologist Vitas Reed is joining us now.
Yeah, Vitas, I guess we'll have to find out from the National Weather Service whether we had a tornado.
Yeah, we had the warnings up there, and also on the radar showed there was rotation. Could it have touched down? Well, that's still the question, but nonetheless, we're looking at activity that's still going on up here in parts of northern Baltimore County and the very far northeastern corner of Carroll County. So looking at severe thunderstorm warnings until about 10:15 as we're looking at some gusty thunderstorms still up here. Some heavy rain and lightning just north of Westminster. Zooming in the closer look here, you can see there's a pretty good line of storms that are wrapping down out of New Freedom all the way down through Hampstead. Some gusty winds down towards Westminster. Also a lot of lightning involved with this. Back towards just west of those areas. New Windsor getting some decent rainfall. Putting it in motion, you can see how these thunderstorms just fired up across the area. We still have a little bit of notching in just north of Westminster, northeast of that. There still could be some rotation in this cell. So we have to watch this very closely as this continues to move to the northeast. There could be some volatility in this. Now, the severe thunderstorm watch had expired for much of central Maryland at 10 p.m., but it looks like still there's some cells out there, a storm, so that are churning that we have to watch closely. This line stretches all the way to the south. The cold front hasn't pushed through yet. Once it does, we'll get a big change in those temperatures going into the next few days. I have a closer look at that in my forecast coming up.
All right, Vitas, thank you. Keep track of the storms right on your mobile phone. Download the Fox 45 weather app. Search for WBFF in your app store.
Well, a lot of you sent us pictures and videos at the heart of the storm today. This one from Mike Rogan in northern Baltimore County. You can see the very heavy rain falling and those trees blowing in those gusty winds.
Gabriella sent us in these pictures from Sparks in Baltimore County. Again, another massive tree down, and you can see the root system.
And here's some video that Douglas Jenkins sent us from Forest Hill, Maryland. There's a look across that ominous sky as those dark clouds move quickly overhead late this afternoon when those storms came through. If it is safe, we would love for you to send us your pictures and video. Just click on Chime In the Fox 45 News app or go to foxbaltimore.com/chime in. Howard County Police are releasing new details in a deadly shooting. It happened Sunday morning in Woodbine.
They say a Virginia man was trying to break into someone else's home before he was fatally shot by the homeowner. The family of Gary Espinoza, the man who was shot, sent us these pictures tonight. They say he was a father to 2 sons and married for 20 years. Liz Ortiz has the latest.
Well, police are still trying to determine exactly what led up to this shooting, but they say the home's doorbell camera is providing more insight.
Here at this home on Carriage Mill Road, no signs of the fatal shooting that happened just over 24 hours ago.
We usually have a really good neighborhood, so it was kind of, strange and surprising that did happen.
Howard County Police say Charles Dorsey fatally shot Gerardo Espinoza of Virginia after Espinoza tried to enter his home around 1 a.m. Sunday. Now, police are using doorbell camera video to piece together what happened.
What they observed was that the suspect in this case approached the house and began banging on the door, ringing the doorbell, and shouting not only profanity, but also threats.
According to police, Dorsey can be heard on video telling Espinoza to leave numerous times, but he didn't.
I'd be scared because I have a couple kids myself. So it's scary, especially in the middle of the night. You're woken up by that.
Police say Espinoza was visiting at a nearby home where a group of people were drinking. They believe Espinoza mistook the Dorsey home for the home he was staying in. Howard County Councilman David Youngman lives in the neighborhood. He says, quote, "I hope people will focus their efforts on supporting the Dorseys, a wonderful family with deep roots in the community, as well as the young children, family, and friends of Mr. Espinoza."
Now, police are working with the state's attorney about the details of the case. So far, no charges have been filed. Meantime, the investigation is ongoing. In Howard County, Liz Ortiz, Fox 45 News.
Still ahead on Fox 45 News at 10. Out of the hospital, new information about the police sergeant shot at a Baltimore methadone clinic and new details on that attack. School bullying, the Maryland County with a dubious distinction when it comes to this serious problem. Also tonight, tragedy at the beach, the freak accident that took the life of a father of 6.
We also have breaking news tonight in West Baltimore. Police investigating a shooting there. It happened about 7:15 this evening along Pennsylvania Avenue near Cumberland Street. Police say 2 people walked into a nearby hospital with gunshot wounds, saying that they had been shot. No word on what led to the gunfire.
The Baltimore police sergeant who was shot at a methadone clinic last Monday is now recovering at home. Sergeant Bill Shiflett was released from shock trauma Sunday afternoon. Dozens of fellow officers and hospital staff lined up to salute him and wish him well as he left the hospital.
Sergeant Shiflett was shot just below his bulletproof vest and had to undergo emergency abdominal surgery. His full recovery is expected to take another month or 2. Police say he has spent the last week surrounded by a strong support system, including family and fellow officers.
He was chipper, happy to see us, but of course, he wanted his alone time and sometimes too, reflecting, spending time with his family.
He had a significant injury. He's done well. It's not over yet, but he's good enough to go home, and we'll follow him as an outpatient and modify whatever else we need to do based on how he does.
Well, police have released additional information on that shooting. Police now confirming Sergeant Shiflett was shot by the suspect, Ashante Pinckney. They're also confirming that clinic worker David Caldwell was shot and killed by Pinckney. And finally, police say the female employee hurt in that shooting was hit by shrapnel from bullets striking the door frame that she was hiding near. Pinckney was eventually shot and killed by police. Bullying reports in Maryland schools are on the rise, up almost 33% in just the last year.
Project Baltimore's Chris Papps dug into the most recent numbers and found one local school system stands out in one category, but it may not be a good thing.
Howard County Public Schools has a great reputation. It has some of the highest performing schools in the state. But Project Baltimore also found it leads the state in something else.
My child, second grade, is crying like this.
Remember this video?
I don't want to go to school.
We showed it to you last year.
I don't want to go to school.
When this was recorded, the second grader, who we agreed to conceal, attended Dogwood Elementary in Baltimore County. Her mom told Fox 45 severe bullying had been an ongoing problem. And on this day, the 8-year-old says she was beaten on the head in the cafeteria. What's it like being in school?
It's horrifying.
GBMC diagnosed her injuries as an assault. Baltimore County Police found she was the victim of an assault in the 2nd degree. The girl's pediatrician wrote the principal, saying Dogwood is no longer capable of providing a safe environment. But when the family filed a bullying complaint, the school found there is not sufficient evidence to prove that your child was subjected to bullying or intimidation behaviors.
She told me that it was an accident, that the boy was playing and he hit her in the head by mistake. That's what the principal said.
According to the state's most recent report on bullying, this outcome is rare in Baltimore County. Just 1.7% of bullying reports are found to be false. In Baltimore City, it's 5.1%. Anne Arundel, 2.7. But look at this. In Howard County, 34.5% of all bullying reports are found to be false, by far the most in the state. And over the past 3 years, the number of bullying complaints in Howard County has nearly doubled. In a statement, the school system told us the data is a mistake, saying the number of false allegations being reported are inaccurate and way too high. The school district says incidents not relating to bullying, like smoking in a bathroom, were incorrectly submitted to the state as a false bullying report. They say the problem is being corrected. But Project Baltimore found Howard County has been incorrectly reporting this data to the state for at least the past 5 years. And Howard County also told us this error only impacted the way data was reported to the state, not the school system's actual response to bullying. And we want to hear from you. Do you have a story about education that you want to share with us? Something you want us to investigate? Call our hotline, send me an email, go to foxbaltimore.com to follow our progress. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Well, we continue to get amazing pictures of the damage left behind by this afternoon's storms. Take a look at this shot from Don Marino in Eldersburg in Carroll County. The storm snapped that huge tree right at the base of the trunk.
Take a look at these pictures sent to us by Teresa Bagley in Bel Air. Ominous clouds overhead. Again, another example of that system that moved through.
Again, if it's safe, please send us your pictures and videos. Just click on Chime In the Fox 45 News app or go to foxbaltimore.com/chime in.
Vetus is here with our weather. We had another system moving through right before the newscast.
That's right. It's been just a volatile day all the way around.
Yeah, cold front still yet to get through, but once it does, it's going to cool things down a little bit and get rid of some of that heat and humidity that we've had for the last few days. But ahead of it, you get a lot of charged atmosphere, and that's what we saw out there with some of these stronger storms pushing through earlier today, which was expected. Second line, was a chance to maybe see a few stronger storms. In fact, the severe thunderstorm watch had been allowed to expire at 10 o'clock, even though we had severe thunderstorm warnings along the northern tier of the state. So let's track it and talk about what's going on. You can see the yellow earlier shaded was severe thunderstorm watches. And as we time this out, you can see that first line that really fired up and went through the area. It looks like that has pretty much pushed more into Pennsylvania, but we still have that line of rain back towards Winchester coming out of Virginia. We're not done with it yet. We still could get some decent rainfall across parts of northern Carroll County, Baltimore County, and there's still potential for some flash flooding. So we still have the flash flood watches in place until 6 a.m. Here's what the temperatures look like. 76 degrees in Chestertown, 78 in Denton, 85 in Easton still holding, 73 in Westminster, and it still feels pretty warm out there, even with some of the heat index right around in those 80s on those other lower parts of the state. So our forecast today, or tonight, looking at about 67 degrees with those chances for those thunderstorms moving through. A look ahead to how this is going to switch up our temperatures coming up in my forecast.
All right, Vitas, thank you. Safety first. How the Washington Nationals are taking protective netting to a whole new level.
The tensions with Iran and American spies that they have said they've identified and what President Trump is saying about it.
But next, a warning about the power of nature. How a father of 6 lost his life while enjoying a day on the beach with his family.
Fox 45 News, honored with 22 Emmy Awards.
And there is more breaking news in West Baltimore tonight. Police investigating a shooting there. This is a live look at the scene. It happened about 8 this evening along Calverton Heights. Early reports indicate this is another double shooting. No word on the extent of the injuries. We'll bring you more information as soon as we get it.
A father of 6 is dead after a wave hit him on the beach in North Carolina and slammed him into the sand, breaking his neck. Lee Dingle was playing on Oak Island with 3 of his kids Thursday when that wave struck him. His wife says that the force of the impact broke his neck and made his throat swell so much his brain was deprived of oxygen beyond the point of recovery. His family says despite the efforts of heroes, including their own kids, he died a day later.
He saw each child for who they were uniquely and just supported them in that and encouraged them and was always there for them. But I feel like anyone who knew him was a better person from their interactions with him.
Dingle was 37 years old.
Next year's trip to the beach in Ocean City could get a little more expensive. Worcester County commissioners considering raising the hotel room tax 0.5% to 5%. That's on top of the 6% state sales tax. The extra money generated would help cover the cost of special events. A public hearing on the proposal will be held next month. If it's approved, the tax hike would begin in 2020. Changes at Nats Park. The Nationals are one of just a handful of teams extending the safety nets at their stadium this season. Last year, the organization extended the nets to the end of the dugouts. Starting tonight, the nets now cover the entire first and third base lines, pretty much all the way to the yellow foul poles. Well, last year, the Orioles extended netting at Camden Yards. The additional netting now extends around the seating bowl beyond the first and third base dugouts.
The crime in Baltimore reaches a new level. How the police department's own deputy commissioner became a victim.
Repairing a stubborn sinkhole in downtown Baltimore. Why it's taking so long.
Storm damage across the state. Where we found this leaning tree tonight.
And we got changes coming our way. It looks like we're going to continue to see some breaks from that rain as we go through the midday. We start out with some showers, maybe a rumble of thunder in the morning. By the evening, the sun will start coming out, and we're going to get less humidity in play. A better forecast headed our way, all coming up in my forecast in just a few minutes.
The wicked weather leaves its mark across the Baltimore region tonight. Keith Daniels is live in Finksburg, Carroll County, where the storm damage turned deadly. Keith?
Well, Kai, that's right. The storm did turn deadly here. It happened on Bloom Road behind me. The victim here tonight, an elderly man, 89 years old, and so far tonight, his name has not been released. Meantime, in Hamden, the storm also knocked down a huge maple tree. It fell on a house on Weldon Avenue. Fortunately, no one was hurt there. The homeowner says he was about to step outside to walk his dog when the storm blew through.
Stepped out, and that was the beginning of about 5 minutes of the most hellish wind imaginable. And it was really short. It was like 5 minutes, intensity plus. Every tree on this block was bending.
Well, the homeowner says the tree was sitting on city property, so city crews were dispatched to clean up the mess. We're live now in Finksburg. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
So a lot of problems across our area today and tonight, but fortunately some cooler temperatures, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to see our temperatures going down as we go through the next couple of days. Tonight and tomorrow are the transition days. So that's what we'll start seeing. We're seeing that volatility in the atmosphere because it's still a little bit charged ahead of the front. Hasn't pushed through yet. Still back in Pennsylvania. But let's talk about what's going on and the timeline of this. So we're still seeing clouds across the area, and you can see that cloud structure pretty much mostly cloudy to cloudy skies out there. And we still have some rain that is in the area and some heavier showers across parts of the state, mainly in the northern parts of the state. So 75 degrees right now. Looks like we're seeing mostly cloudy to cloudy skies, south-southwest wind at 5. Humidity still up there at 82%. A lot of moisture in the atmosphere. Dew points at 69. So you step outside, it's still muggy. As we take a look, we can see that those temperatures are at 75 in Cockeysville, 74 Bel Air, 78 in Columbia. As you head across the bay down towards Easton, 85 degrees, Denton about 78. So we're still seeing hot temperatures as far as across the area where the front still has yet to make its way through. As we're looking at some of those showers and thunderstorms across the area, some of that heavier activity over the border up in Pennsylvania where they still have severe thunderstorm warnings active right now, up just south of Lancaster and up near just north of Oxford. So they're getting some heavy thunderstorms right now. Still a nice little line of some heavy rain just northwestern corner of Harford County, northern Baltimore County, north of Cockeysville. As you get up towards Parkton, Moncton, those areas are getting some heavy downpours of rain. Westminster still coming down pretty good there. Now the green shaded area shows there is a flash flood watch until 6 a.m. because of some of the heavy rain that has been coming down. And this is going to be an issue for some folks out there that have already been inundated with some heavy rainfall. Little closer look, you can see some of the heavier downpours over towards Westminster, Manchester, north of Ridgemont, and then also just west of Butler. You're about to get some heavy rain as this continues to move north into Parkton. And we still have a little more activity down to the southwest of us, so we'll continue to see this line, the secondary line, making its way through after the first line that came through. We still have a lot more activity down towards Winchester, back towards Cumberland. So this has to still make its way through, and this front is still well to the west. Let's go a little further out. You can see how here we are in Baltimore, still more rain ahead of the front that's going to continue to move our way. So that's why we have the flooding potential over some areas as the air has to kind of go through the process of being pretty much wrung out and allowing for that moisture just to make its way out. So we're looking at the front pushing through. This is looking at about 10:30 tonight. We're looking at about 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll still see some residual showers here and there. As that front pushes east, we start to get rid of that rain. By the late afternoon, evening, we'll get more breaks in the clouds. Cooler temperatures prevail through the overnight on Tuesday night, and high pressure just to the north is going to help usher in some fresher, less humid conditions, especially by Wednesday. We'll feel the difference out there across the area, feeling much better as far as our temperatures and how it will feel. So it's going to feel pretty good all across the eastern seaboard going into Thursday. Nice conditions. Another closer look, you see how those thunderstorms have been moving through by tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m., the residual following showers. This is looking at about 11:30 a.m., and then it looks like it's pretty much dissipating as we get towards 5 o'clock. Maybe it's still a trailing shower, but those clouds will continue to break, and we get more clearing and more sunshine heading into the next several days here. It's going to be a beautiful rest of this week after we get rid of those clouds and showers across the area. So your 7-day forecast looks like this. We're looking at 79 degrees tomorrow, 70% chance for those morning and maybe afternoon showers, tapering off with some sun later in the day, mostly cloudy to some sun, pockets of sun here and there. But then as we get into Wednesday, we're really feeling pleasant, less humid, 84 degrees, 86 on Thursday, plenty of sunshine. As we get to Friday, looking at pleasant conditions, more sunshine, and then going into this upcoming weekend, temperatures warm a little bit, 89 degrees, 90 on Sunday, and it looks like we'll hold on to that sunshine through much of the weekend, so outdoor activities will feel pretty good. And then Monday, about 92 degrees with a 20% chance for a stray shower. For all in all, it looks like we're just seeing really great conditions through much of the rest of the week as we get up into the weekend. Back to you.
All right, Vitas, thank you. Fox 45 first broke the story Saturday morning about the city's deputy police commissioner and his wife being robbed at gunpoint. Crime and Justice reporter Joy LaPola explains how it's become a national story.
Baltimore City is already considered the most dangerous city in this country for its size. Now, one of its deputy police commissioners and his wife are robbed at gunpoint. It's crime that's making national headlines.
The New York Post, Fox News, and CNN are reporting on Baltimore's deputy police commissioner being robbed at gunpoint Friday night. City Council President Brandon Scott.
I get angry every time I see someone become the victim of violent crime. To me, it doesn't matter who it is.
As Fox 45 was first to report, Daniel Murphy and his wife were robbed just before 9 o'clock Friday night. It happened near Patterson Park and East Pratt Street. It's in Councilman Zeke Cohen's district.
What he said to me, which I found incredibly heartening, was that this makes him want to double down on Baltimore, that he sees this as obviously a deeply traumatic experience that he went through, but just more urgency for why his work and our work is so important.
Commissioner Michael Harrison brought Murphy to Baltimore to ensure the police department's compliance with reform efforts contained in a federal consent decree, similar to the one Harrison and Murphy faced while working together in New Orleans.
This is a deeply resilient city. We are going to rebound. We know that the violence that we're experiencing is deep and generational, but we have folks in law enforcement who are fighting every single day.
A police report obtained by Fox 45 describes how 4 suspects in a white SUV got away with an iPhone 10, an Android, $40 cash, some credit cards, and driver's licenses.
You know, he actually expressed not only sadness for himself and his wife, but for the perpetrators as well, who he said were all young people. He found it in his heart to be able to say that he felt badly for them too.
According to police, they did obtain some video footage from this area from Friday night. In Southeast Baltimore, Joy LaPolla, Fox 45 News.
We have more breaking news tonight, this time out of South Korea. South Korea says it has fired warning shots after Russian military planes intruded into South Korea's airspace. South Korea's defense ministry says multiple Russian military planes violated the South Korean airspace off its east coast on Tuesday. The ministry says South Korea launched fighter jets and that they fired warning shots. Fox 45 will bring you more information on this story on air and online. New developments in America's diplomatic conflict with Iran. The country now claims that it's identified spies working in its country for the United States. An Iranian official identified as the director of Iran's counter-espionage department says 17 Iranian nationals have been rounded up over the last few months. The officials say the spies worked on behalf of the CIA at military and nuclear sites in Iran, collecting information. Iran says some of the spies have been sentenced to death. U.S. officials are skeptical of the country's claims.
So to my knowledge, they're not necessarily executing American citizens. They're executing Iranians accused of working with Americans.
I read a report today about CIA. That's totally a false story. That's another lie.
Well, the situation with Iran has deteriorated ever since President Trump withdrew the U.S. from the Iran nuclear deal. Analysts say blaming the U.S. for the spies is purely part of Iran's propaganda.
Construction continues at the intersection of Howard and Pratt Streets after that water main break 2 weeks ago shut down the area. The key is fixing the broken 36-inch storm drain. That's what crews were planning on doing over the weekend. Right now, there are pipes and pumps above ground to divert water away from the site. Once the storm drain is fixed, the pipes and pumps can be removed, and some lanes will finally be able to reopen.
When something like this happens, you get to witness the best of humanity.
Severe weather takes its toll. How storm winds in the Midwest actually ripped a dock from its moorings.
Homeless in San Francisco, it's becoming a serious crisis.
And coming up in the late edition at 11, new information on our wicked weather and damage tonight and what we can expect tomorrow.
The city by the bay, now a city blanketed in a homeless crisis.
San Francisco, perhaps most famous for its Golden Gate, cable cars, and Alcatraz Penitentiary, now finds more than 1 in every 100 of its residents homeless night after night.
The city is spending nearly $300 million tax dollars to help. But that may not be enough. Now the federal government may step in.
Reporter Matt Markovich from our sister station takes us to the hardest hit area of the city.
This is just homelessness, drug use, and all of it at its madness.
Homeless and a drug addict, Brandon has switched from heroin to smoking fentanyl, more powerful, now the drug of choice on the streets of San Francisco.
It's so full of homeless people out here. It's chaotic.
Brandon and nearly half of the city's 9,700 homeless are crammed into a 30-square block area.
And this is where the convergence of homelessness, drug addiction, and mental illness takes place in San Francisco. It's an area known as the Tenderloin.
This has always been a wild child.
Pam Coates has lived in the Tenderloin for 30 years. Once homeless, she now leads walking tours.
What needs to be done?
It's kind of too late.
On one street corner, an overdose. Someone gives a life-saving shot of Narcan to save the man's life. Sidewalks are clogged with tents with those experiencing mental illness and drug addiction. Trash is a constant, and so is human feces and attempts to clean it all up.
Now the problem is overwhelmed the help that's out there?
Yeah, there's not enough funding. There's not enough safety nets out there.
Big cities are watching if San Francisco's policies are working. The president is watching too.
You take a look at what's going on with San Francisco, it's terrible. So we're looking at it very seriously. We may intercede. We may do something to get that whole thing cleaned up. It's inappropriate.
It's a threat San Francisco politicians have heard.
These guys across the street are selling drugs and using drugs there pretty much all day and all night.
Supervisor Matt Haney's district includes the Tenderloin. All its issues are on the very street he lives on.
Well, we have a failing shelter system, a failing mental health system, and a failing housing system.
In an attempt to fix that, city voters passed Proposition C in November, taxing tech giants like Twitter, Uber, Salesforce, and Airbnb that border the Tenderloin, who many see responsible for skyrocketing rents. The money raised would have doubled the city's homeless and housing budget, but opponents have tied it up in courts for years.
Basically, we work to hold the city accountable.
Without that Prop C money, housing advocates predict the streets are going to get worse.
Here in San Francisco, we're so liberal and progressive, and yet we have the most anti-homeless laws out of any city in California.
The city has created 10,000 units of subsidized housing, but even a hopeful supervisor has his doubts of progress.
I don't see a plan right now from the city, unfortunately, that's going to turn that in the other direction.
In San Francisco, I'm Matt Markovich reporting.
So why are so many people homeless in San Francisco? In the latest one-night count of homeless themselves, 63% said they can't afford rent in the city. And almost half admitted they had a drug or alcohol abuse problem. Our sister station asked the city's mayor and the city's director of homeless 5 times to talk with them. Both declined. A stunning and frightening situation in Iowa over the weekend. Take a look at this. Storm winds blowing so hard, they rip a dock from its moorings. That dock simply floated away into another dock, blowing the people on the board to jump for safety. Well, after the storm passed through, the dock could be seen on the other side of the lake.
The first thing that we had to do was get control over the boats and separate them from the tangled mess of docks. As you can see over at that dock over there, that dock used to be clear over here.
Well, Clemens says it's going to take months to get everything back into place, and they need to get going before that lake freezes in the winter.
Well, after a rough start to our week, we're looking ahead to our weekend forecast.
Let's check in with meteorologist Venus Reed.
Well, the front will be pushing through by early tomorrow morning, afternoon, and then we'll see that refreshing air start building in, and the clearing will begin. And we're talking about Wednesday on. So hopping on to the weekend on Friday, looks like we're going to see a beautiful forecast. We're looking at Friday, plenty of sunshine, temperatures around 88 degrees. The humidity shouldn't be too bad. Now, it starts warming up into the weekend. Saturday, more sunshine, but we're looking at those temperatures right around 89. And then on Sunday, it's going to get a little warmer. Temperatures right around 90 degrees, plenty of sunshine. So it looks like a wonderful weekend to be out and enjoy. And then leading up for the middle of the week, it's just going to be refreshing with lower 80s leading into the nicer temperatures for the weekend. Definitely outdoor activities are a must for this weekend. Back to you.
Venus, thank you. Coming up on the late edition at 11, the changes after the death of a Howard County firefighter.
And a call for more transparency, what some members of the city council say is being kept from the public for no good reason.
After a long homestand, the Orioles take to the road. Early highlights from Arizona next in Sports Unlimited.
After a nice long homestand, the Orioles are on the road for the first time since the All-Star break. They opened up a 9-game Western swing tonight with the first of 3 in Arizona against Adam Jones and the Diamondbacks, and it hasn't gone well so far. Aaron Brooks got the start for the Orioles, and the D-backs were slapping him around in the first. Eduardo Escobar tags this one to dead center. It's off the wall. Ketel Marte comes around to score on the triple. The Snakes on the board first. More trouble in the first. Christian Walker singles into left. Escobar comes around. Arizona sends 9 to the plate in the inning, and the D-backs led 3-0 after 1. But the Orioles do get on the board. Watch this. Richie Martin lifts a fly into left. Jared Dyson's coming real hard, but can't make the play. Anthony Santander scores. It's 5-1 in the 4th inning. We will update you at 11:30. Football and a new gig for ex-Maryland head coach D.J. Durkin, at least for a while. He'll serve as a guest coach for the Atlanta Falcons during their training camp. He and Falcons head coach Dan Quinn worked together at the University of Florida from 2010 through 2012. Fired last October in the wake of the death of Jordan McNair, Durkin served in a similar role with Alabama as the Tide prepared for the postseason last year. There was kind of a happy ending in the Durkin affair. His successor got his dream job. We'll hear from Mike Loxley. And Adam Jones talks about going against his old team. That's all at 11:30 as Sports Unlimited continues.
All right, thank you, Bruce. Still ahead, a bird's eye view. The incredible shot this bird captured after stealing a camera.